Greetings and salutations, ladies and gentlemen of YouTube. This is MazezRealm once again, and welcome to another episode of my series, The Arsenal. For this episode, I am going to be covering my one and only League Play Loadout for Close Quarters Combat Objective gameplays. And this loadout will work very, very well if you are a Slayer in competitive Call of Duty. So without further ado, let's jump right into the loadout that we have here. And it is featuring the MP7 submachine gun as the primary weapon of choice. And the two attachments that are equipped on this weapon are the quick draw handle and the foregrip. Now, the quick draw handle obviously helps you lock onto targets very quickly, and the foregrip helps with the recoil for medium range engagements, especially with this MP7 that has a vertical recoil that is manageable, but it's easier to spam out bullets when you have that foregrip on there. So as far as our perks are concerned, we have got flak jacket so that we do not die from explosives. We've got scavenger and toughness courtesy of that perk 2 greed wild card, and then we've got tactical mask and dexterity courtesy of the perk 3 greed wild card. And that pretty much rounds up that loadout. Now let's take a look at the score streaks right now that we'll be using today. And the first one is the Hellstorm missile, and the Hellstorm missile works really, really well for objective gameplays. It also is complementary to the lightning strike, which actually really does help as well to clear out those objectives when we need to go and capture them. And then of course, the last score streak we have here is the War Machine that also helps us clear out those objectives when we need to take over them. Now let's just take a look at the gameplay here, and it is of a competitive hardpoint match here on standoff, and I only had two teammates with me on this particular gameplay. I don't know what happened to the fourth teammate. I think he actually ended up being timed out at the beginning of the match, but this turned out to be a 3v3 match of hardpoint on the Championship League playlist, and it turned out to be a very competitive one. Now, if you guys are looking at the gameplay here, you can see that I'm actually holding down the objective and get taken down. However, this class is perfect for actually staying on those hard points and winning those close quarters gunfights in the actual hard point. I can't reiterate that enough. This class is a Slayer class, but you are meant to stay on the objective or close by to it so that you can actually gather those points. So primarily that's what you're going to be using this loadout for, and of course you will die quite a bit more than obviously your anchor or your other Slayers, because you're going to be the closest one to the objectives most of the time. But because of that, that's why we actually have the score streaks that are a little bit lower. They're easier to attain, especially when you're on top of that hard point, because you actually get a few more points per kill on the objective than if you're just running around without being close to the objective. So that's one thing that you guys should definitely keep in mind when you have this loadout equipped. The great thing about this loadout as well is that you can literally spam out as much as you want on that trigger, because of the fact that this MP7 has a very fast reload even when you're not using fast mags. And you can see that that's a very useful trait to have in a weapon when you're playing a fast-paced game mode like Hardpoint. And that's why a lot of pros actually do use the MP7. That's the second most used submachine gun behind the MSMC and the Scorpion Evo. So I should say it's the third most used submachine gun in competitive Call of Duty, and that's exactly why. It's very good with the reload, it's very good with the handling characteristics, the recoil is actually very manageable as well, and it has a really good rate of fire. It actually has a higher rate of fire than the MSMC, so that's the trade-off. You have a higher rate of fire, but a lower damage output than the MSMC. So if you keep that in mind, then you'll be able to win those fights in close quarters combats, and you can see that I was winning a lot of those gunfights simply because I was using the toughness perk. And of course I was using the quick draw handle so I could lock on a target very, very quickly. And it's also very good with hipfire, as you just saw there as well. And right here you can see that it didn't take me very long to actually get all of my score streaks. Obviously you can't use the hardline perk when you're playing competitive championship rules, so you have to be able to pick up those kills on the objective in order to get the maximum amount of kills for your streaks. So that is definitely something to keep in mind as well. Now notice that I am using the war machine here to actually push towards the other objective, and that's what you should do once you get your streaks from your previous objective hardpoint. And when you're moving over to your next hardpoint, just equip those score streaks, get set up to get the next hardpoint, and that's exactly what I was doing here with the war machine. So once you do that, obviously you make your way in there, you clear it out from any other enemies that are there, and then you go right back to where you left off. And that's exactly what this loadout is meant to be used for. It's perfect for very close quarters oriented objective gameplays. That's how you're supposed to use it. And obviously you can see here from the gameplay that it did work out pretty well for me. I ended up saving a lot of my score streaks just in case if we needed to use it for a defensive role, and that's a great way to actually implement that Hellstorm missile and Lightning Strike when you have a significant lead. Because with Hardpoint, you know how it is, guys. The score can change at any point in time. If you lose the gunfights in 2 hills in a row, for example, the enemy team can be right back in it. So right here, you can see that I did call in my score streak to take out the anchor that was actually set up on the next hill, and that's actually important because they were going to be running to the hill through this area to try to kill us, and I took out the anchor over there. So that worked out pretty well as well. Now, another thing that you can use this class for as well is actually cycling to your next hardpoint when you have to do a rotation, and this loadout worked really well for that as well. Even though I wasn't anchoring, it's good enough to actually be able to win those gunfights when you are in mid-range, so you can actually play the role of a very quick anchor so that you can have your team set up for the rest of the match and be able to set up the anchor spots in the map. So if your anchor does die and you're still alive, you can actually pull those rotations and get a chance to start getting some kills and give your anchor a chance to spawn back in and do what he needs to do. So you guys know that primarily I do play the role of an anchor when I'm playing competitive, but I do decide to sometimes switch it up depending on what map it is, and you know, sometimes I prefer to be an anchor on a certain map, and other times I like to be the slayer, or you know, or the objective player. And it's good to be a jack of all trades when you're playing competitive Call of Duty. And a lot of the pro teams, they have their actual set players, and they're still very good with submachine guns and assault rifles, and they're a well-rounded player, and that's what you have to try to practice if you're trying to get yourself a competitive team for either MLG events or UMG events or whatever it is. It's good to be a well-rounded player and be effective in any role that you decide to play. So that's exactly why I have been showing you guys some league play loadouts that I actually use for competitive Call of Duty, and I really hope that these loadouts have been working for you. So far you've seen that I've had 3 loadouts for you guys in every position that you'll need in competitive play. So you'll have the capture the flag runner class, you'll have the objective close quarters class, and of course you guys saw the anchor class. And let me know if you guys are actually enjoying these loadouts for league play. I know that a lot of you guys have been subscribing to my channel from watching me cast on Rivalcaster, and that's been a really good opportunity. So you've seen my knowledge when it comes to competitive Call of Duty in the casting side of things. So I just wanted to be able to show you guys a little bit more of how I play when I actually play competitive Call of Duty. So if you guys did enjoy this episode, please be sure to drop a like on this video, drop some comments, and let me know if you guys are enjoying this series. And until next time, this has been MazezRealm. Have a great day.